Praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord. Certainly thank the Lord for being here today, and grateful to all of our visitors that are out with us, all of our members. Amen. I had a very busy week, but the Lord has helped. Amen. Also, I would like to thank the saints for all of your prayers. Amen. I forgot who it was that used to say it all the time. Prayer changes things. And I believe that. I believe prayer works to our advantage. All right. In the book of 2 Kings, chapter number 18. Second Kings chapter 18. And we'll start at verse number 19. And Rabshakeh said unto them, Speak ye now to Hezekiah, Thus saith the great king of Assyria, What confidence is there wherein thou trustest? Thou sayest, but they are but vain words, I have counsel and strength for war. Now on whom dost thou trust that thou rebellest against me? Now behold, thou trustest upon the staff of this Bruised Reed, even upon Egypt, on which if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh king of Egypt unto all that trust on him. Chapter 18, verse 22. But if you say unto me, We trust in the Lord our God, is not that he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah have taken away, and have said to Judah and to Jerusalem, Ye shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem? Now therefore I pray thee, give pledges to my lord the king of Assyria, and I will deliver thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able only thy part to set riders upon them. How then wilt thou turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servants, and put thy trust on Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? And I now come up without the Lord against this place to destroy it. The Lord said to me, Go up against this land and destroy it. And we'll stop there. I also want to read in the book of Isaiah, chapter number 42. Isaiah 42. We have two different things taking place here, but I want to show you how two separate events can have the same language but mean something completely different to us. Isaiah 42, verse 1, Behold my servant whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not cry nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and a smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment to truth. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law. One more scripture in the book of Matthew, chapter number 18. Chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12. And in 12, we're just going to read starting at verse 15. But when Jesus knew it, he withdrew himself from thence, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them all. And he charged them that they should not say, or that they should not make him known, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Behold my servant whom I have chosen, and my beloved in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him, and he shall show judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not strive nor cry, neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed shall he not break, and a smoking flax shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment to victory. And in his name shall the Gentiles trust. Just want to stop there. I'd like to speak this morning from the subject of the bruised reed. In the book of 2 Kings, Judah was being made fun of. He was being ridiculed by the king of Assyria. He asked a question to them, and if I could just sum it up, the question was, who can you trust other than the king of Assyria? You don't have horses or chariots. You don't have good soldiers. You don't have a military to speak of. Your own prophet went through and knocked down all the temples to your gods. And let me just say, I'm not sure where he was coming from with this. The Bible doesn't tell us, but it was almost as if he didn't understand that Hezekiah had destroyed the temples, the high places of Baal, not of the Lord. So he's kind of throwing this idea out there that even your own man has destroyed the temples of your God. Now who are you going to trust? Put your trust in the king of Assyria. We will give you horses. We will give you what you need. All you have to do is provide men to sit on those horses. Because if you don't, then you'll have to fight us. And that's a battle that you can't win. He uses the term in here that if you trust in Egypt, it's like trusting in a bruised reed. I don't know if you've ever seen a bruised reed before, but it gets a little green. It's a green leaf or a green plant, and you'll see a dark line across it going horizontal. That's the bruised part. That means that's its weakest point. If you take that whole thing and start to bend it, it's going to break at the bruised point. But he's not quite saying that. He said, if you put your trust in that bruised reed, it's deceptive. That bruised reed will fool you and make you think it'll bend to your will, but it won't. He'll pierce you through. Now, I just want to just do a sidebar real quick and say that what we're talking about here is Egypt or the world and God's people. I think there's some good truth in this. If we as God's people put our trust in the world and in the system of the world, it will eventually come back and hurt us. I've had people tell me when events have happened, you need to call the police. And there's a time to call the police, but the police can't protect you like God can protect you. If you put your confidence, and I want you to understand what I'm saying, it is not that the police are bad. I'm not saying that at all. If I went home and found out that someone had broken in my house, I'm calling the police. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is there's a difference between using that as a tool and putting your confidence in it. need to be careful, especially in the United States. We make more money than most other places do. We are a very rich country. Our poor people are well off compared to other countries. I know we can go out and find the worst example, somebody laying in the street with a cardboard box laying over the top of them, haven't had a bath in a long time, clothes filthy and stinking, and use them as an example of, well, we do have poverty in the United States. But you ain't seen nobody like that around here. There are certain areas in large cities where you may see that, but that is a very, very small minority. All right, I ain't getting no amens on that, so let me just say this. You can't trust what you see on the news. That's their story. You watch the news and they'll make you think 50% of the United States is living in cardboard boxes, looking for grates in the street to heat their little cardboard box in the wintertime. They'll make you think that. But we don't live in that kind of country. We may have poor folks, but they got places to live. We may have folks that can't afford a car, but you'll see them riding on their bicycle, talking on their cell phone. We're not that poor. As a result of that, we have begun to be trained to think about things in ways that would cause you to put your confidence where it doesn't belong. There's a term that the lending institution uses called mattress money. And they penalize you for having mattress money. Now, mattress money is money that you take and you put under your mattress because you don't trust the bank. And maybe it's not that you don't trust the bank. Maybe it's just that you got enough sense to realize that 0.13% interest on your money is not worth taking it and putting it in the bank. I'll put it under my mattress. I didn't draw that number out the air. That's what my bank pays right now. 0.13%. Less than 2%. Less than 1.5% interest. But if I don't carry my paycheck up to the bank and put it in there, they mad at me over that. So the next time you go to get a credit card or you try to go get a loan, well, we don't see no money in your account. Well, I got thousands of dollars. Where is it? Oh, it's at home under my mattress. That don't count. You go try to buy a house today and take $15,000 down with you, cash, and see how that gets over. You'll walk right on back up out of there without a mortgage. Because they don't like the idea of you putting your trust in you. Put your trust in us. Don't you trust them. I put my money in there. That way, if I get robbed, all he getting is plastic from me. Well, that's not exactly true. I do have $1. Amen. That my wife lets me carry around, so I feel like my labor is not in vain. Don't trust the world. Don't trust their system. It may work for you sometimes, but you cannot put your confidence in a system that's built on greed and sin. Everybody that works for the lending institution isn't crooked. They got some nice people working there. Some of them filled with the Holy Ghost, but they're not the ones that's over the whole system. There's a whole nother layer or 2 or 3 or 50 above them that they have no control over. We need to make sure that our confidence is not in Egypt. If you're going to trust something, you trust in Jesus. I just want to say this by way of quick cliche, if you can be considered that way. But Jesus can take care of you when the bank says they're not giving you nothing. the Lord can see to it that you have. He'll lay it on people's heart to bring to you. The Bible said, Jesus said, don't take no thought for tomorrow. If your Father knows how to clothe the lilies of the field, if the birds go and they got food to eat, I go to the beach every now and then and I see folks throwing bread out. You know, they're not feeding all the birds. There's a whole lot of birds that eat that don't come in contact with human beings or with trash and food that we throw out our window. But somehow they survive. You know why? Because God knows how to feed them in ways that you don't even understand. You can put your trust in the grocery store, but there's only 2 weeks worth of food at any time in the grocery store. Let a blizzard hit, let a disaster hit, and they'll be empty in a day. In hours, it'll be empty. If you don't put your trust where it belongs, you'll sit around worried all the time. Do I have enough food in my house? Well, it looks like bad weather's coming. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive. Lord, please help. And you're worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet. But if you got your confidence in God, you don't have to worry about stuff like that. Man, I don't sit around worrying about whether the bank is going to collapse tomorrow. All my money is up in the bank, but if it collapses, I wasn't using that money no way. All my tens of dollars is up in that bank. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. He was warning. The king of Assyria was warning Judah. Don't trust them, trust me. And I would like to say to us, don't trust them and don't trust him. Trust God. He was trying to get them to go from one bad deal to another bad deal. It's like when you take and go down to the car dealership with your bad car and you tell them you want to buy a used car. They're not looking out for your best interest. They're looking out for how much they can make off of you buying another car. And I know some of us get excited and we walk away and, oh, I really took them for a ride. You look at this car that I got. You ain't took nobody for nothing. They spend all their time trying to figure out how to get your money and how to get you to buy something from them. They don't tell you everything. And that's how come we walk away shouting and rejoicing. We come to church. We happy. We having testimony service today. I got a testimony for the Lord. Can we please have testimony service? I got to tell this. We'll get up and talk about how I put my trust in Jesus. And I went down there and I outslicked the slicksters. And 3 months later, we talking about them devils. You can't put your confidence in man. You can't put your confidence in the worldly system. Now, Isaiah said it like this. You'll know my servant, because my servant is coming and he's not going to brag on himself. I'm going to beat up on the preachers just a little bit because I think it's ridiculous. All this advertisement that preachers has got going on. He said, my servant will come and he's not going to raise his voice in the streets. He's not going to put on no big show. He's not coming around with radio ads and magazine ads, TV ads, and walking around with flyers, putting them on your car windows. He's just going to handle God's business. All right, preacher. Am I saying that it's wrong what these preachers are doing? Yup. I just want to be clear about that. Yeah, I'm not hinting around. I think it's ridiculous. If you're preaching the truth, preach the truth. Right. If you're helping people, help people. Right. But don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. You don't have to go around bragging about how good of a preacher you are. If you can preach, preach. go around telling them, listen, I need to have 50 signs put up this week and put them in the high traffic areas because people need to know I'm coming to town. No, they don't. If you know what you're talking about, people will come to town. They didn't have to go out and start advertising Jesus. They followed him. The multitudes followed him. They kept up with where he was going. Not a handful, thousands of people followed Jesus because he was getting it done. All right, let me just bring it down a little closer to home. If I'm telling people that I'm healing folks all over the place, shouldn't be nobody sick up in this church. Nobody. Matter of fact, shouldn't be nobody sick in Cassopolis. We're a small town. Word gets around, kind of a thing. Everybody, it wouldn't take but just a week or two for everybody to hit my door and for me to say, take up thy bed and walk. And they go on about their business. If it was that like that. The reason why I got to put all them signs up is because it's not happening like that. I'm just trying to make some money by telling folks that I'm going to heal you. All right. Jesus said this. I mean, the Bible said about Jesus, it said that he was coming and he wasn't going to brag. He wasn't going to be the one to tell everybody, look at me. He wasn't going to be the one going around patting himself on the back or arguing and fighting with folks out in the street over who he was. They would come up and tell him, you ain't nobody. They did. Wait a minute. Aren't you Mary's child and Joseph, the carpenter that we know? Who are you? That's what they're implying. Who are you? You don't even come in the right tribe to be a priest. And you're trying to tell us about God? No, you won't. But you know what? He never argued and fought with none of them. They'd ask him a question, he'd answer. They'd get mad, and he'd just disappear out of their midst. Or they would try to get him, and Jesus would just walk away, and they didn't know what to do. He said that they would not hear his voice in the streets. He wasn't going around making a ruckus. It was everybody else that was making a ruckus around him. But he never went out and started no trouble with anybody. Why am I saying that? Because I know we talk a lot about being like Jesus. I want to be like Jesus. And then we'll get up and broadcast how great we are. And just by way of excuse, we're broadcasting right now. But I'm not doing it to get famous. If you don't believe it, just go look at the YouTube view count. They got some kids with got more hits on their videos than I do. We're doing it so that the saints that are sick and can't come out can catch service still. That's why we're doing it. We're not out trying to get people's money. We're not out trying to convince folks about how great this is and all that. God don't need us to do that. If you come in contact with him, David put it this way, oh, taste and see. All you have to do is just come in contact with him. It's all good all by itself. He don't need you trying to convince people of how good he is. He is good. Amen. He said, he's not strive. He's not going to cry. His voice won't be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break. Now, this is a different type of bruised reed we're talking about. This is the person that has struggled with things in life and are hurt. The person that has gone to church and been hurt. I want to be honest about this thing. The church has hurt a lot of folks. And I'm not talking about the worldly church. I'm talking about God's church. God's church has hurt some people. But you can't help people if you can't even come to the grips with the fact that I hurt somebody. There have been times when my wife has said, that hurt my feelings, and I said, I'm sorry. I wasn't sorry because I realized I hurt her feelings. I was sorry because I knew that was the right thing to say. I don't do that no more. I was saying what she wanted to hear, not because I felt it like I had done something wrong. You can't fix it if you don't realize you've done wrong. You cannot take care of a problem that you don't know is a problem. We have had a problem. All right, I just want everybody to know I'm not just trying to beat up on the world. The church has got its problems too. We have got some bruised reeds. Folks that have been hurt and damaged. But if you want to be like Jesus, he said, a bruised reed, he's not going to break. You don't come into church all bruised and then you break the person and walk away and say, I did that for the Lord. No, you didn't. Because the Lord said, I won't break a bruised reed. Some folks come, they just a little fire left in them, a spark. Look, when I was a kid, we used to start fires. We was trying to, and there would be a point where you could see it glowing and we would just get down and we blowing on that thing because we know that there's not a flame there, but if I keep on blowing and giving it oxygen, it's going to take off and start burning. He said, now listen, if a person comes in and they just got just a little fire left in them, there ought to be enough wind blowing. There ought to be enough spirit moving. That ember that's just barely glowing ought to be able to catch a little breeze. It ought to be able to catch on fire after a while. It shouldn't be that when you come in and you got just a little smoke, a little ember burning, that somebody come up and dump a cup of water on it. It shouldn't be like that when you come to church. It ought to be, I'm trying to be like Jesus. A bruised reed, I see you're hurt and you're damaged. How do I do that? Because I'm not just jumping right up, pointing fingers at folks. I got to talk to somebody. I need to find out why you're here, what you've been through, what your life been like. Some folks come to church tore up, hurt, damaged. They walk in the door looking for help. Are they going to find it in the church? They ought to be able to come and that reed get some strength, something put around it to hold it up so it don't break. If they got just a little fire left in them, we ought to be the ones that say, come on, brother, you can do better than that. Come on, I got your back. I'm helping you. I'm praying for you. I'm with you. And I'll turn my TV off and talk with you. I'll do what it takes to encourage you because I want you to be right. I want you to be saved. See, we got to get out of this mindset of if I'm not getting credit for it, if it's not going up on the board in the back of the church, I ain't doing it. We got to get past that. You got to help people whether you're getting credit for it or not. You want to be like Jesus? Jesus went through the streets healing everybody that he came in contact with. And it wasn't too long after that they said, crucify him. You think he didn't know that's what they were going to do? He knew exactly what was coming down the road. And yet he still said, I'm not going to break them because I know they're just a bruised reed. I'm not going to put the fire out because I know that they just got a little ember left. I'm going to keep that little ember going as long as I can. And if we want to be like Jesus, we got to be able to recognize when people are in need. The Bible tells us, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit whether it be of God. Some spirits are not of God. We need to stay away from those. But then there's some spirits that are in need of God. And we ought to be able to recognize that. How? Because I'm trying the spirit. I'm talking to them, trying to see where you are. Some people just hard-headed, don't want to listen to nothing. And then there's some people that's just hurt and they burdened and they down and they need somebody to just sit and listen to what they've gone through. Somebody to just say, listen, I don't have an answer for you, but I'll tell you this. You got my word. I'm going to be praying for you. If you need to talk, I'm here. I'm able to listen anytime you're going through something. And I can promise you, when people are hurt, they'll get on your nerves. Listen, my wife was just in the hospital. And one of the doctors come in and he said, this is a very pleasant room to be in. You all are some of the friendliest people I've come across. And somebody said, what, you got bad folks here? And he said, yes, when people are sick, they're grumpy and mean. Sometimes folks come into church grumpy and mean because they're sick. Not because they got a bad attitude, not because that's the way they are, but because they're hurt and damaged. And they need somebody to come and say, but that's all right. Let me give you some of this medicine. This right here is going to help you feel better. You take this. It's not going to feel good at first, but you just keep on taking this. I'm taking it right with you. I'm on the same medication as you are. And it doesn't taste good all the time. But let me tell you, it's going to make you feel good after a while. Sometimes that's all people need to know is that you got their back. He said that in his name, he was going to bring judgment to the Gentiles. He's not talking about judging them and finding them guilty. He's saying, I'm bringing fairness to everybody. It was to the Jews at first, but now even the Gentiles are going to be able to trust in my name. People ought to be able to come to church and learn to trust in his name. Hope y'all caught that. They ought to be able to trust in his name. Not just get baptized in his name, but they need to learn to trust in his name. I know that people are praying for me in the name of the Lord. I know people are encouraging me in the name of the Lord. I know people are looking out for me in the name of the Lord. I know they're not talking about me. I know they're talking for me. They're talking to me. They're trying to help me. I know that. That's what people ought to be able to say when they come to church. The bruised reed. That's something that we should be watching for. There's bruised reeds all over out there. You want folks to get saved? Quit trying to, listen, if you ain't done it like this, then you lost. We need to stop all of that and start realizing some bruised reeds are out there. Just looking for somebody to help them and talk to them. Just looking for somebody to encourage them. Yes, I'm grumpy right now because I'm hurting down in my heart. Yes, I'm grumpy right now because my burdens are so heavy that I don't think I can make it. But they need to know that there's someone that they can trust in. Someone that they can bring their cares to. Someone that will take their load and help them. Someone that they can yoke up with. That's watching out for them. How will they know it? Because they're watching you. They're talking to you. And after a while, they'll learn, well, if God's helping them, I want that too. How did Jesus get all those people to follow him? Because he was handling business. He was not going around breaking bruised reeds. He was not putting fires out. Jesus was trying to help people get to God and get right with God. You want to be like him? You want to be like Jesus? Amen. We sing that song, To Be Like Jesus. You want to be like him? Start helping people. Start looking out for folks that are in need. We are so quick sometimes to just turn around and say, they got a nasty attitude, I don't want to deal with them no more. You don't even know what they're going through. I forgot where we were, someplace, and they was waiting on us, and they wasn't acting really nice. They was curt about the way their answers were, just not friendly at all. And we found out from someone else that there's someone that they had, their mother or father, somebody had just died, but they had to come to work. They were hurt. They wasn't trying to be mean and nasty. They trying to do their job and hurt while they doing their job. We ought to take the time to find out, are you all right? When folks is treating us ugly, it shouldn't be the first thing out of our mouth. Where's your manager? The first thing out of our mouth is, are you all right? I've done that to people. I've asked, are you okay? You seem like you kind of burdened down by something. Break down and start crying. Yes, I am. This is going on, and I don't know what to do. Now, if I would have just jumped into it right away, go, where's your manager? I don't have to be treated like this when I'm spending my money. It ain't about your money. See, you got your confidence in the wrong place. It should be, I realize, brother, you're a little bruised right now, and I'm not going to break you. I've seen people call the manager and tell on somebody, then call back later to find out if that person still worked there, because their intent was, I'm getting you fired. I've seen them do it. But saints behaving like that, you don't know. You might be breaking a bruised reed. You don't know. One more quick thing. Listen, we were just out somewhere and was talking to somebody, and they were kind of hesitant and standoffish, and I just kept talking to them, and finally they said, where do you go to church? I told him. He said, what religion are you? I said, we're Pentecostal. I said, oh, I was too. Well, the church was doing things I didn't like. I had a chance to sit down and talk to them. You just don't know who you talking to. You might win somebody back to God. You might win somebody to God. The church hurts unsaved people too. All right. I'm through talking about us. I ain't talking about Christ Temple because we help folks. Amen. Let's be like Jesus. Let's look for that bruised reed. Let's look to help people that are hurting. And quit worrying about folks getting on your nerves. People get on my nerves. I don't tell them. And I don't go around talking about me. Oh, you so-and-so, they on my nerves. I don't do that kind of stuff. I got nerves too. I got at least 3. And folks will be on all of them. But I can't worry about whether somebody's on my nerve. My first concern should be, can I help you? Are you in need of something? Are you hurting? Amen? All right. The bruised reed. Is there anybody here today that's not saved that wants to be saved? We'll baptize you. I can say this now confidently and boldly. The pool is warm. I won't stand outside the pool. I'll jump right down in there with you. The water's warm. But it'll save. It'll clean. Amen. All right. Stand on your feet.